What if a medical diagnosis didn't start with a lab test, but with your life story? That's what we're digging into today. We're talking about repertorization. It's this really unique diagnostic art right at the heart of classical homeopathy, and it's all about how you turn someone's personal story into a real path for healing. And it all starts with this one core idea. You see it right here. It's pretty much the foundation for the whole thing. The philosophy is simple, really. You just can't understand the sickness if you don't first understand the person. And that idea, it guides every single step, right from the very first question, and it shapes the entire diagnostic journey.
Okay, but let's be real. How do you actually make sense of all that? I mean, a patient's story is this incredibly complex thing, right? It's a mix of symptoms, feelings, big life events. So how do you find that one key piece of information that makes everything click? Where do you even begin?
Well, it all kicks off with listening, and I mean really listening. We're talking about a deep dive interview that goes way beyond a simple, "So, what brings you in today?" This isn't just a quick chat. It's more like a biographical exploration. You're trying to understand the patient's entire world. And the amount of information they're gathering is just huge. It's this totally holistic process. You've got the patient's full story, told in their own words without interruption. You've got their personal and family medical history, their social and cultural background, everything. The practitioner is almost like a detective, you know? They're looking for those peculiar, strange, or rare symptoms, those little quirks that make a case totally unique. And it doesn't always stop at the patient. Sometimes they'll bring in information from family or friends, which is super important if the person can't really speak for themselves. And here's the key thing to get. None of this stuff is just background noise. It is the data. The whole approach is built on this idea that to find the right remedy, you have to understand the whole person, their mind, their body, their entire life, not just the name of their disease. Okay, so you've got this mountain of really personal, detailed information. What do you do with it? How on earth do you organize all of that and find what's actually important? Well, this is where a really amazing tool comes in. It's called the repertory. And the name itself kind of gives it away. Repertory comes from the Latin word for a storehouse. And honestly, that's exactly what it is. Think of it as a huge, super organized encyclopedia of human symptoms. And just look at the structure. This is not just some random list of symptoms, no way. It's this incredibly logical index that basically mirrors the human experience. It starts with the mind, so you're talking emotions, thoughts, anxieties, and then it just moves systematically down through the body. You've got sensorium, vertigo, head, eyes, everything. Basically, any symptom you can think of has a specific home in this massive catalog. Honestly, the best way to get your head around it is to think of it like a 19th century search engine. Seriously, long before we had Google, practitioners had the repertory. You'd take a specific symptom from a patient's story, you'd search for it in this book, and it would show you every remedy known to cause that very same symptom. So that brings us to the actual process, the how-to of it all. Repertorization. This is the real art form. It's about translating that rich, messy, human story into the clean, structured language of the repertory. And you're doing it all for one reason, to find a meaningful pattern. It's a really methodical process, kind of like translating from one language to another. First, you pinpoint the most important symptoms from that deep dive interview, the things that really define what the patient is going through. Then you convert each one into a standard heading from the repertory, which is called a rubric. Now, this part is crucial. You also have to note all the modalities. That's just a fancy way of saying what makes a symptom better or worse. Finally, you put all these pieces together to build what's called a totality of symptoms. Think of it like a unique diagnostic fingerprint for that one person. Let's walk through an example so you can see how this actually works. Say a patient mentions, "I get terrible anxiety right before I have to perform music." Okay, in the repertory, that becomes mind, anxiety, music, before performing. See how specific it is? Or maybe they say their joint pain always flares up after a tense argument. Boom, that translates to extremities, pain, tension, after. And it even captures those really peculiar things, like I feel so much better when someone consoles me. That gets its own rubric, mind, consolation, ameliorates. Every little piece of their story gets indexed and filed away in this massive system. So why go through all this trouble? Why be so meticulous, almost obsessive about it? Well, the goal is to find the one single remedy that perfectly matches that patient's complete, unique symptom pattern. It's a super precise matching game. Kind of like finding the one key that's perfectly cut to open a really complex and intricate lock. Now, I know what you're probably picturing right now. Some old school practitioner hunched over a giant, dusty, leather-bound book for hours and hours. And you know what? For a long, long time, you would have been spot on. But just like everything else in medicine, this tool has evolved. And the evolution is, wow, it's pretty striking. What used to take up an entire bookshelf, these massive books, now fits on a laptop as powerful software. The whole process has jumped from these heavy physical tomes to these really sophisticated computer programs that can hold dozens of repertories and cross-reference them in a split second. And the advantages here are just a game changer. This modern software can search through thousands of symptoms in a flash. It can handle a huge amount of data and perform complex analyses that would have taken days to do by hand. It really brings a whole new level of accuracy and efficiency to the practice, for sure. But, and this is a really important but, the technology is just a tool. A super powerful tool, yes, but it is not the practitioner. The computer can't replace the reason-gifted human mind, as one source puts it. It's a helpful companion, right? It does all the heavy lifting, but that final judgment call, that nuanced understanding of the patient, that still rests 100% with the human. And that really brings us full circle, because it doesn't matter if the practitioner is using a dusty old book or the latest whiz-bang software. The fundamental goal, the whole point of this entire process, stays exactly the same. This quote from Sir William Osler, it just nails it. To study the phenomenon of disease without books is to sail an uncharted sea, while to study books without patients is not to go to sea at all. How perfect is that? The tools, the books, the software, they're your map. You need them. But without the patient, without their story, you're not even on the boat. You're just standing on the shore. So here's the bottom line. Repertorization isn't some kind of vending machine where you just plug in symptoms and get a remedy back. It's more like a compass. It's a system designed to guide the practitioner, to help them get a much deeper, more structured understanding of the person sitting in front of them. It's all about getting to a truly personalized treatment. And all of this leaves us with one last big question to think about. In today's world of AI and big data and instant diagnostics, what's the value of a system that is built from the ground up on the simple human act of deep listening? What do we stand to gain, or maybe even lose, if we forget how to truly hear a patient's story?